Welcome to the High Voltage Light Electric Vehicle channel. This is a quick video here to help people with the reassembly of the CYC Sprag Clutch assembly. It's pretty easy to take it apart, but getting it back together after you've serviced or replaced bearings, that kind of thing, is actually extremely difficult. So hopefully this is going to help people with this particular version. There are several versions of this, so this is kind of for this one, and I don't really know if it still applies to the more recent versions, but hopefully it's going to help some people. What people have been finding is that the bearings, like these ones here and this one here, are getting worn out and need replacement. This particular one I was sent, it's seen over 10,000 kilometers of use, and as a result both of these bearings are now worn down. Like if I show you with this part here, like it's kind of loose inside of here, and like this one just feels like it doesn't feel nice turning it. It feels like very notched and not smooth. So these kind of really need replacing. What some other people have been finding is that sort of grit and debris has been getting inside of this, and it's just been sounding not very great. So I think it's a part that does need to be taken apart, and it does need re-greasing periodically. So once you've done that though, getting back together is extremely difficult. It's really easy to take it apart. Everything is held in with a couple of these large circlips, and all you really need to do to get these off is a decent circlip tool, and they pop out, and then the entire assembly comes out. I'm going to put a video at the end that I was sent originally with this part that shows a bit more of the disassembly, but this is kind of the reassembly process. If CYC as well would like to supply a link to documentation for how this is done, that would be awesome, and I can also then link to that in the description. So the main issue is getting it all back together, and the way it works is that this smaller bearing slots in here like so, and then this is the Sprag Clutch assembly with the pawls, and that allows it to rotate one way and locks it the other way. So this allows you to paddle along and then have the motor power the bike independently without having the crank spinning round and round. So anyway, this part slots in there, and then this part here, which is, it kind of locks onto the crankshaft assembly axle. This has to go through, and it's a nightmare to try and get it through. And I'll show you what I mean if you look at the other side. Like this essentially has to pass through the middle of there, and in order to do that, all of these pawls have to be lined up in precisely the right position. And if anything is like slightly out of position, it's not going to work. And it's really easy to knock things out of position doing that, and it makes it really difficult and really frustrating. And apparently it can be done, but I've not been able to do it, and I know a bunch of other people that have not been able to do it as well. So I like a challenge, so what I decided to do was to make a tool to make this work. And it's really quite simple. All it is this plastic plug that I've 3D printed. It slots in on this side here, and it's chamfered to let it fit through these pawls. So you then put it in position, and it goes in quite easily, and then you gently push it down into place, and then from there you just need to use a hammer to gently tap it through. And I found the technique, you need to also make sure that it's as level as possible when you're going through. You don't want to knock it down too far on one side, otherwise it pushes the pawls out of place, and then you have to start again, take it all apart and reset the pawls. So I just hold my thumb on this, and then very gently, like in your hand, you're not trying to belt it through. Don't put it on a hard surface or anything, because you'll damage bearings and things like that. And just gently tap it so it goes through, and then reassess your positioning and find like the high point and tap it again. And then once it's in position, you can push the plug out that side, and then you can check that it works. Right, so it needs to spin one way and then lock the other way. Spin one way and then lock the other way. And that's it pretty much. Once you're in there, you can then reassemble it. I want to say at this point, this is just for demonstration. Like if you're going to do this for real, you want to put a bunch of grease in on this side of the bearing to stop any chance of moisture ingress come through. Due to the nature of the circlip design, there is a little bit of play across this, and I think that's what's letting water and grit sometimes get in. So you want to use grease on both of those sides to try and keep that water out during use, basically. And the same with this, you want to use the grease and lubricant on the Sprag clutch, and then you also want to use with this. So this bearing, you would then press in on this side. I'm not going to do that because I might still want to do some more demonstration with this in the future. But basically, this then goes in on this side there, right? And then on top of that, you have a spacer. And then this smaller one, this is what holds the bearing in, right? So on the inside there's a track, and this smaller circlip keeps this bearing in position. And then this larger circlip goes on the outside, and that fits into this track, and that keeps the whole assembly together. So yeah, obviously, yeah, use the proper grease and everything. And if CYC would like to supply an official procedure for this, that'd be great, and I'll link to that as well. If you ride a lot in the wet and mud, like really this kind of re-greasing and maintenance of this component, if you have this version, is something that you probably want to do. Maybe you can do it, you know, as part of your winter maintenance or whatever. If you then have also a set of bearings on hand, you could also then replace the bearings at the same time if you feel that, you know, it's basically getting worn. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'm going to put links to these parts in the description, so you can print one off yourself if you have access to like a 3D printer at a local makerspace, that kind of thing. If you have any questions for me on it, you're welcome to put them in the comments. You can join on Discord. I can send you the file over Discord as well. The file will be probably on the Prusa website. I'll put up the original design file as well, in case you maybe need to change the sizing slightly for a different one. But I think this one is used on both the X1 and the Stealth, at least for the Gen 2. I know they have changed it up a bit, so maybe this technique won't work for everything, but hopefully it helps some people out. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Huge thanks to all the channel members. You guys are truly appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.